What is up, everybody? Welcome back. Episode number 57 of Big 5 Pod. I'm, of course, your co-host, Kyle Morello, and next to me here, looking around for something. I'm not exactly sure what. Maybe he's trying to find the Denver Broncos. Actually, I can't even say anything. I'm a Jets fan, and it was a rough week. But Jake Copestick, how we doing?
Good. I don't know why you take a dig at the Broncos. They just beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs,
I
which
know.
the Jets couldn't do this year. In fact, they spotted them a quick 17-0 lead because they're incompetent. So I'll let that one slide. They have a Monday
Okay.
night game against the reeling Bills on national TV. So
We'll
might
see.
might might be on the up and up here. I actually wanted to start out and give you a compliment, and I'll let you get into it. Shout out to the Union. Big win yesterday.
Thank
Back in the
you.
semis, correct? Back in the semifinals.
Conference semifinals, yes.
Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good.
Yes.
Break it
Thank
down
you.
for us. I'll kick it back to you, but wanted to get that. I couldn't find my Union shirt, so two on my
It's all
Broncos.
right. I'm not wearing mine
I'll
right
let you
now.
get into it.
I got on my Thanksgiving sweatshirt. I've been traveling a lot the last week, so this is one of the only clean ones I have. But also, listen, Cope, we're recording this on Thursday night. 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving. Favorite holiday of the year, best holiday of the year. But yeah, the Union. I mean, listen, we went up 1-0 in the series. Which the best of three is interesting, but I'm not gonna get into that. We went up 1-0 on October 28th, a home game, and then we traveled 11 days later to New England to beat the Revs 1-0 in their home stadium, Gillette Stadium, obviously with Patriots play as well. Uh Tough game. They're a tough opponent, but pulled it out. We had some injuries too we were dealing with. And now, as Bill Belichick famously once said, we're on to Cincinnati. Which will be there's an international break between uh this coming weekend on Sunday and then right after Thanksgiving. So we're not playing till either the 25th or the 26th. Don't know what day that game will be yet. MLS is not yet announced because there's still some series finishing up. Very excited. I definitely think this is a team, Cincinnati team that we can beat. They have their Defender of the Year nominee, Matt Miazga, suspended due to yellow card accumulation. So it'll be interesting. I don't want to go too much into it. We got some Big 5 basketball to talk about, but I know you wanted me to break down Union a little bit. So uh, there's that. I think we can get back to MLS Cup. There's gonna be some tough matchups, but more a tough matchup too. So there is that. All right, Cope. Listen, for the first time since the first week of April, we have college basketball games to break down. And I know you're excited about it. And I'm very excited about it. But of course, before that, we're gonna start off the show with Cope's quick hitters. Got a few things to go over, some pretty noteworthy stuff here. So Cope, take it away.
Awesome. All right, I got my Red Bull here. I got a basketball in my hand.
You got a lot
Pass
going
me the
on.
rock, Kyle. Let me run the break. Let's get it rolling. First, first, Cope's quick hitters of technically season two. We didn't have any games or to break down last episode, and we really just doing previews. And then we had some quick notes. So finally, we'll get to have one where we're actually in the season. And even with a bunch of games, Kyle, we still had a bunch going on. The Big Five Hall of Fame, literally just today, announced who this year's class would be. Pretty damn good one, honestly. Pretty
Yeah.
damn good class here. DeAndre Bembry from St. Joe's, who of course is a first round pick and was on those really good Phil Martelli teams that made tournaments and won a bunch of games there. Tyreek Duran from LaSalle, who actually hit a buzzer beater against Northeastern. There's that when we broke down the Northeastern game that we'll talk about. We talked about the Tyreek Duran. Like the last time they met was the Tyreek Duran buzzer beater that LaSalle the year that I believe that was the year they made the Sweet 16 as
Yes,
well.
it was.
They beat Northeastern on a Tyreek Duran buzzer beater. So cool to see him get in representing LaSalle. Dion Anton from Penn, women's basketball representing the University of Pennsylvania. Fran O'Hanlon representing Villanova, who of course is at Lafayette, was the head coach of the Lafayette Leopards for a while. Retired, recently just got back into coaching, this time in the Philadelphia Catholic League at Cardinal O'Hara. So that's pretty cool for Fran O'Hanlon. Kyle Larry Doherty, a guy I know that you know pretty well, spent some time at Temple and I believe St. Joe's as well, but was a senior associate AD at Temple for a very, very long time. Just recently retired. I guess he kind of pulled a Tom Brady because I'm sure when Tom Brady becomes eligible, very, very soon, right after his playing career ended, he'll be right in the Hall of Fame. Larry Doherty retires from Temple, bam, right in the Big Five Hall of Fame right away. And then I think this is the coolest part about the Big Five Hall of Fame. When you walk around the concourse of the Palestra, you walk the halls of that place, they have a whole section for the media. They have a whole section for radio, TV, the writers. that covered the sport, that covered Big Five games of the Palestra. There's two media members on this list. They are Dick Girardi and Mike Kern, both from the Daily News. So in addition to administrators, the players, of course, a coach in Fran O'Hanlon who played at Villanova, but has also had a long coaching career. Pretty cool that we have some media members on there as well. Getting into a little bit of recruiting, National Signing Day was yesterday, I believe. I know Villanova announced their class. We've already gone over that. Temple getting Aiden Tobiason from Delaware and Dylan Petit, whose father played at Temple under John Chaney late 90s, early 2000s when they made two Elite Eights. His uncle was also Tony Petit, who spent a little bit of time with the 76ers. So cool to see Temple get their first two commits for Adam Fisher, a local guy at Aiden Tobiason, and a guy with some ties to the university as well in Dylan Petit. And then LaSalle getting a commitment from guard Deuce Jones, who Temple was also after. LaSalle was in the mix for Aiden Tobiason as well. Temple scoops him away from LaSalle, and then here's LaSalle coming back, getting Deuce Jones for next year's class, which I believe is the first technically recruit under Fran Dunphy. You have some transfers last year with the Drames, so a lot of international prospects. But how about a domestic recruit here, at least for next year, in Deuce Jones? And then finally, on the day of the Holy War, where the St. Joseph's Hawks are going to go into Finneran Pavilion and play Villanova in a Big Five Classic pod play game. Villanova is going to dedicate the driveway between the Davis Center and Finneran Pavilion as right way for Jay Wright. Interesting timing, to say the least, that they would do it during the Holy War, that, Villanova has won for 12 straight years. Historically, they have dominated St. Joe's in this rivalry. They're going to add a little more fuel to the fire, I guess, on the day of the Holy War and dedicate a road on campus after Jay Wright. So those are some quick hitters for me. I ran the break. I think we did pretty well and got an easy layup out of that. Kyle, I'm going to kick it back to you because you had some boots on the ground for opening night in college. You had some boots on the ground for Adam Fisher's opening game as head coach of Temple. They defeated Maryland Eastern Shore 85-65. Break it down for me. You were there.
Yeah, I was there. First of all, was very, very excited to be there, especially because that was the opening night of college basketball. So it was nice to be back in the building. There's definitely a little bit of energy there. Not going to say that the stands were full or anything, but there's definitely some energy there as well. Listen, this as we tweeted from the account, this was a game that last year Maryland Eastern Shore came in and they beat us on our home turf on a team that was probably a little bit more talented than this one. And it was a little embarrassing, Cope. And I know you agree with that too. And we talked about it last year. This year, there was not a sliver of doubt when this game tipped off that Temple was not going to win this game. They dominated from start to finish. It was a really ugly game at first. The teams went a combined 2 of 15 in the first, I want to say 7 minutes or so around there. It was a little ugly, but there were some good performances. Jalil White was the player of the game for sure. 15 points, 14 rebounds on 4 of 11 from the field. So he wasn't the most efficient, but he definitely impacted the game a lot. And one thing that I think people sitting in the media section noticed was he was more confident shooting the basketball. He was more confident with the ball in his hands. He wasn't scared. Even though he didn't make a ton of shots, he didn't shy away from them. He actually had a nice, it wasn't a pull up, but it was a nice mid-range shot that he hit that was like, you haven't seen that from him. So it was good to see. Some other performers, Heisler Miller, obviously, led the team in scoring with 17 points, also had 4 and 5, that being rebounds and assists, 6 of 14 from the field. Zion Stanford in his first ever college game, the only freshman on this team, true freshman, that is. 7 of 10 from the field, 14 points. I was very impressed by his performance. I believe he had 12 in the second half. Really helped them keep their distance away from Maryland Eastern Shore, even when they started to make a tiny little bit of a run. And Shane Dezzoni, 12 points on 3 of 5 from the field, was also played very well. So they had 4 players in double figures, which, you love to see. And another great thing, too, that you love to see, they were 90% from the line. And that's not on some, no volume either. That's 27 of 30 that they shot in this game from the free throw line. Now, one thing they didn't do well was 3-point shooting. They were 6 of 19 from the field, which is 32%. So you hope that under Adam Fisher, you know they're going to shoot threes. Maybe they didn't do it as much this game because they already had such a lead for the entire game. There was not one point in this game where they were trailing. Uh, so maybe they toned it back a little bit. They're trying to find their shot, attack the basket a little more. I know Heisier Miller for sure was, but it was an encouraging performance. Obviously, the opponent wasn't, on par with maybe who they would normally play the rest of the year, but it's also a team that they lost to last year. So you can't really take anything away from that. But overall, it's a good performance. Adam Fisher, first win of his Temple career. Cope, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this game, but I was encouraged. I'm excited to see, going forward.
Yeah, well, I was just encouraged that they won. They actually beat each
Well,
other
yes.
this year. I mean, I think we can start there. Yeah, really encouraging for Zion Stanford. I knew he was gonna have a role in this team, just wasn't really sure what. And it's just kind of like with a totally new staff and a bunch of new players. I don't really think there's a lot that we know right away. So, when we talk about Penn as well, with a bunch of new guys, like these first couple games, I just want to see what this lineup's going to be. Who's given an opportunity here? Shane Dezonie's been hurt pretty much the last 2 years, kind of in and out of the lineup. Nice to see him have a good game. Zion Stanford, his first game in college, have a really good game and definitely earn some minutes in the future. So yeah, the lineup is more what's like intriguing to me, not so much the result as a team that they should beat by this margin. I think the defense was definitely encouraging. Even for them to put up 85, I think a lot of people are thinking offense, offense, offense with this team. I think they'd shoot a lot better than 6 of 19 from three with how many they were going to put up. But to hold a team to 65, and then have some of these guys, a young guy in Zion Stanford, a guy in Shane Zoni that hasn't really gotten into a rhythm on the court yet as a Temple Al. Definitely really encouraging to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more note before we move on. Post game presser. It was Julia White, it was Zion Stanford, and of course Adam Fisher. But the players went first, and you can just kind of tell that like Zion Stanford's got this confidence about him that you might not see from a lot of freshmen. Um, and another funny story that Adam Fisher told after the players left was that on shoot around on Monday, Zion Stanford had never really participated in a shoot around like that before. So he like went to the wrong gym. I think he went to the practice gym instead of at the Leocore Center. And, maybe in the past there's coaches who would have scolded him for it. And Adam Fisher was like, listen, it's okay. We're not going to start without you. Get in here and we'll go to work. But like it's encouraging to see one that like Zion Stanford is, has this confidence about him. And yeah, you made a mistake too there. But it's also encouraging to see that Adam Fisher's letting his guys make mistakes. I think it's really important to coaching. Like as much as coaches love to scream and yell and there will be times for that, I'm sure, from Adam Fisher, but he's trying to get these guys to be men, young men, and to grow up to be men. And it's encouraging to see. It's kind of not saying that there wasn't that in the McKee era, but it's definitely something cool to see that there's coaches like that out there. So just want to throw that little nugget out there from the press conference. But we will move on because we got some St. Joe's Hawks to talk about. I know you just mentioned them with the right way Holy War deal, but they had a game on Monday night as well, and they beat Lafayette 81-60. Of course, tell me if you heard this before. Eric Reynolds was the leading scorer for this one for the Hawks, 18 points on 6 of 13. But also some good games from Lynn Greer the third, Rasheer Fleming. Um, this was an encouraging performance. I know it's against a Lafayette team that's not, a crazy talented team, Patriot League team. They're not, the most strong conference. But Cope, what did you see in this one?
So offensively, they were very good. It's good to see Lynn Greer comfortable in his second year on Hawk Hill because I know when the season started out, especially the non-conference, he had really, really bad turnover issues. And he really got that corrected and really like was spectacular down the stretch in conference play. So good to see him with a good shooting day. Uh, but Rasheer Fleming for me is a guy I really like. For him to have 14 points, he knocked down a couple threes, shooting with confidence, and getting this start on kind of late notice, at least to the public, that Kreese Doka wasn't going to play. He slides right in, has a really good game. He can defend on the perimeter a little bit if they decide to throw some zone, which they did last year out of necessity, which was good. So he gives them some versatility, on kind of on both ends. But yeah, I was really looking forward to seeing Kreese play. I feel like he's this mystery man, and I
Yeah.
just want there's all this hype around him, and they say he's got all I believe everything that they're saying. I want to see the guy play, and I don't want it to be an exhibition. Now I want to see him get out there in a real game, and in that case, we're going to get into it. Um, even though he didn't play, very very encouraging performance to them. There's two things defensively that stuck out. The first thing is they're still giving up a lot of open shots. That's really frustrating on that. Give up a lot of open threes and just give up open looks as well. I mean, it's super super frustrating because they actually forced a bunch of turnovers in this game, and they were really good playing with their hands. They defended the ball out of the perimeter very very well, but when they got into screen situations and had to rotate and had to defend for an extended period of time in the half court, they gave up a lot of open shots. It'll work against Lafayette. That's on their third coach in 3 years here. After Mike McGarvey took over and the Mike Jordan situation kind of got wiped and he's no longer there. So it'll work against Patriot League teams. It's not gonna work against better competition, and especially when you get into 8-10 play. Oh, unfortunately it's kind of what we saw last year. They did not defend the 3-point line too well. They gave up a lot of open shots. I saw that again here. But also offensively, Xavier Brown, the see here, had a couple buckets off the bench in his debut. Anthony Finkley, Sean Simmons, they got some run in this game as well. So it was nice to see the younger guys that are going to keep St. Joe's hopefully relevant and keep them winning games. This new class of freshmen that's very good, get in the game, be able to produce a little bit. But really encouraging offensively. I mean, Eric Reynolds is spectacular. That shot making, that tough shot making from the 3-point line, clearly seemed like it could have even gotten better from last year if that was possible. But really, really encouraging offensively here. They have to get better on defense. It was like that last year. Their one game looks like they're going to have to do that again. But offensively, even without Kreese, which I was like kind of let down a little bit. It's like, hey, I've been yearning for this guy to play for over a year,
Yeah.
just like all St. Joe's Hawks fans have. A lot of guys got in the mix here offensively. They were hitting threes. They were scoring down low. Klotchik had a pretty good game. Fleming had a good game. The young guys came off the bench and produced a little bit. So offensively, good game here from the Hawks. They have to clean it up on defense, but start out with a home win. They're gonna have another home game coming up soon. Not too much bad at all. Got to shoot better free throws though. For a team like this
Yeah.
that's got all the shooters they have, you just talked about how well Temple shot from the free throw line. This next team, I don't even think I need to mention. They shot very well from the next Big Five team we're going to talk about. I don't need to tell you who they are. They shot very well from the free throw line. This team did not. That's another thing. If you're going to give up open shots and shoot 11 to 21 from the free throw line, it'll work against lesser competition. It's not going to when you get in the conference play.
Yeah, I mean that was the one note I was going to add to your beautiful breakdown there was that 11-21 from the free throw line, 52%. Not going to play. Not going to play really in any level of competition. I know obviously they won this game by 21 points, but oof, that is rough. That is not what you want to see. But of course, the team that Cope is alluding to was the one and only Villanova Wildcats. Yes, they shot 84% from the free throw line in this one. A 90-63 win over American. And I think the one thing that Nova fans really wanted to see was these transfers and how they were going to do in this game. Pretty well. First early returns here. Tyler Burton, 15-7, 5-9 from the field. TJ Bamba had 13-5 and 4 of 6 from the field. Hakeem Hart had 11-6 off the bench. And then, of course, you have your returning star, Eric Dixon, who had 15-6 on 6 of 10 from the field. Justin Moore, not his best game. He had 10 points in this one. But overall, team shot 54% from the field. The aforementioned 84% from the free throw line, 37% from three, which is definitely pretty good. And, this is pretty much expected against a lesser opponent as well, but 37-25 rebounding advantage for the Wildcats in this one. And Cope, I believe that will help you win games when you get extra chances. I'm not a math guy. I know you're not a math guy either, but I do think the rebounding advantage generally gives you more possessions, which could lead to more points. But enough of that, and a little math sarcasm for me because I'm not a math guy at all. Cope, what'd you think of this Villanova performance?
So first of all, I would say I wish they were actually on national TV. They were on Fox, but Fox basically had like NFL Red Zone for the Big East that night. It was just kind of skipping around from each game, and then there was like, oh, it's on the Fox app. You can watch it on your phone. You can't watch it on TV. Like, started to rate a little bit, but when you've Duke that plays on ACC Network, and then you have Villanova, it's like you have the number 2 and the number 22 ranked teams in the country, and you can't watch them on TV. Can't watch on national TV. So, but went back and then, watched it again. Um, really encouraging performance from them as well. Very workmanlike, almost kind of like last year when they played. I said the same thing when they played LaSalle in their home opener last year. I said the same thing. Very workmanlike from Villanova, doing all the things that Villanova does. They don't turn the ball over. They win the turnover margin. They shoot free throws well. And some of the plays these guys made diving on the floor, these transfers have clearly bought in. They're older guys. They're experienced. They know what it takes. It doesn't shock me that guys that have been playing in college for 4 years have been to NCAA tournaments, have been on good teams, played in good conferences, buy into this Villanova way, right off the bat. Like the one play they had where you had Tyler Burton dive, you had DJ Bamba dive on the floor, you had Tyler Burton dive on the floor, and then you had, I think, Eric Dixon go down and block a shot, and then they got a Tyler Burton three on the other end. Like, that's Villanova basketball in a nutshell right there. That is, this was a Villanova basketball game. I mean, even the first couple possessions, I think it was TJ Bamba and Tyler Burton again. It's like 2-3 minutes into the game. There's two guys on the floor on the other end of the court, diving for loose balls, diving into the stands. So good to see that these transfers have bought in right away. They're all very productive. And a really good win here. And I get it, it's American. They got a first-year head coach. This team was crappy as hell. This team was actually in this game for a little bit.
Yeah, for a little
Not
bit.
that Nova wasn't playing well. These guys just came to play and did not care that they were in an arena of it, playing on the road at a top 25 team. These guys were scrappy and they played very well and they were in this game for a while. Nova just played that much better offensively, shooting over 50% from the field, doing what they did from the free throw line. You don't turn the ball over as much. You win on the glass. That's how results like this happen. Against a scrappy team, I know it's American, but against a team that actually put up a damn good fight in this game, really good win for Villanova. These transfers are as advertised, at least from the first game. There was a lot of hype around these guys. It was as advertised. And, Chris Archdiakono only played a couple minutes. Nana Njoku only played a couple minutes, but this still looks to be a potential 9-man rotation here, Kyle. And if that's the case, if they can be that deep and get production from everybody, like everybody scored in this game. Or maybe Arch did. I think Arch actually scored, but everybody's, I believe everybody scored in this game that came in. But regardless, the transfers were good. The depth that was lauded over the summer, that looked good. Everything that we thought this Villanova team was going to be. I know it's only a 1-game sample size and it's against a Patriot League team, but looked pretty damn good to me. A lot to be excited about Villanova. And again, I'll say it again, Kyle, like I said in our team previews, I don't know why this team can't be a championship dark horse in the Final Four and a team that can make a Final Four. I don't know what they're missing. I feel like they got everything. They're super deep. They're old. Love everything this team has. It was a really, really good first game for them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you play teams that maybe aren't on the same level as you want to try to blow them out of the water and you want to assert your dominance, and they did that in this game. And they got it from multiple different players in multiple different ways, which is kind of as you alluded to, is it's a very encouraging sign. They haven't been this deep in quite some time. And one name we didn't even mention was Jordan Longino, who played pretty good game too. So they've got dudes on this team. And I agree. I can definitely see them making a deep run in March. Obviously, there's a long way to go till then. We just started this season. But definitely excited for the Wildcats this year. That's for sure. All right. We got two more matchups to go over here. This first one, the first Big 5 matchup of the year, right off the bat, we got it on Tuesday night. LaSalle hosting Drexel in their first ever Big 5 game, both inner Big 5 and being in the Big 5 in general. And it was a good one. Ultimately, LaSalle prevailed at home in the last ever home opener at Tom Gola Arena, 67-61. Jameer Brickus, someone who we talked about being a pretty decent X factor this year for LaSalle, 18 points on 6 of 11 for the field. And Mark Gill, who we didn't really mention at all in the previews, and definitely someone we probably should have, 15 points on 6 of 13. And Cleo Brantley, 13 on 5 of 14 for LaSalle. And then on the other side for Drexel, Amari Williams at 16 and 7 on 7 of 14 from the field. And Justin Moore. We aren't going to say the other Justin Moore. We're going to put some respect on this Justin Moore's name, but Drexel's Justin Moore, 15 points on 5 of 16 from the field. Not the most efficient night, but was their second leading scorer in the night. One thing that concerned me, Cope, about these Drexel Dragons, 4 of 17 from 3. That would be 24%. And LaSalle shot 40% from the night. So definitely a discrepancy there. It was I wouldn't say it was the most aesthetically pleasing basketball game you've ever seen in your life. You were at this game, so I don't want to take too much away. I'm going to let you take over. But what did you see here with your boots on the ground at Tom Galore Arena?
Really, really impressed with LaSalle here. Really, really impressed. They came into this game as underdogs. They lost a lot from last year. Doesn't seem to be a very deep LaSalle team, but really, really impressed with them on both ends as well. Like Jameer Brickus did a bunch last year, hit some really big time buckets, hit a deep transition three that seemed like he was in rhythm, made that, got them up three. And this is a game that they almost featured 30 lead changes. They almost got to that mark. I think it was at 26. This is back and forth, back and forth. The biggest lead of the game was the 6 points that LaSalle won by.
Wow.
This is a very, very close game, very, very back and forth with Jameer Brickus. Like I said, I remember the UMass game. He went off last year.
Yep.
I think he had 20 in the second half, something like that. Willed him to a victory here, made the free throws to close it out, made some tough buckets down low. I mean, this guy's got the heart of a lion. He's awesome down there. Even as probably the smallest guy in the court, can score on the block, can make tough buckets when you let him work down there, and then made a pretty deep transition three in rhythm to give them the lead, and then kind of put this one away. So he was very good. Anwar Gill was very good, a guy who began his career at LaSalle, not much of a shooter, looked good, looked confident shooting the ball. But for me, the best player for me, like the unsung hero of this game, was Rokas Yotus. Because Amari Williams came in this game, a lot of people, myself included, would have said, "Oh, Amari's the best player on the floor." He had a very quiet 16 and 7. Shot 7 of 14 from the field. Felt like it was a very quiet 16. Like you looked at the box score after and said, "Wait a minute, he had that many points." Amari Williams, first of all, should have been way more aggressive in this game. Should have looked for his own shot. I believe it was late first half. There was a play where he caught the ball just inside the 3-point line, pretty much top of the key. And instead of looking to do anything, put the ball on the floor. He had a left-handed runner that was going down a couple times in this game. He just looked for somebody to pass it to the point where when Justin Moore checked back in the game, was yelling at him like, "Hey man, like let's go. You got to be more aggressive." And he definitely should have been in this game. But Rokas Yotus was awesome. First play of the game he has on offense. The first touch he has. Lefty spit on the baseline and scores right past Amari Williams. He was really good. 10 points, 9 boards, and 3 blocks. Outplayed Amari Williams as far as I'm concerned. So really, really impressive from LaSalle. And then for Drexel, Luke House made a couple threes, but Oak Bruce and Lamar Odin, Justin Moore shooting 5 of 16. In a scrappy game like this, they just didn't make enough shots. And then to shoot 9 of 16 from the free throw line again, like that's the difference right there. You lose by 6, you miss 7 free throws, you shot just a hair over 50%. So it was a close game. I do think this Drexel team is still very good and can make some noise in the CAA. But really, really impressed with LaSalle here. There was a lot of unknowns here with everything they lost. A lot of people weren't giving them a chance in this game, kind of myself included, Kyle, because guess what? I thought the Drexel was going to win
Me
both
too.
the 5 games, and they were going to play in the Big 5 title game. But really, really impressed with LaSalle. I told you that Fran Dunphy was not going to let this team finish last in the Atlantic 10. All they got to do is win at Temple, Kyle, and then they can play for a Big 5 champion. So when you have Fran Dunphy on the bench, and although it's not a deep team, these guys are experienced. With Brickus and Brantley have been with each other for a little bit. Anwar Gill, Shepard, Yotus in his second year, I think is really ready to explode, and he showed you why on Tuesday. So there's a lot to be encouraged about on the defensive end. LaSalle got their hands in there on a lot of balls. Anytime like there was if a guy was dribbling and he tried to do a spin move or had his back to the defense, Anwar Gill, Brantley, Brickus, really, really smart and savvy and getting their hands in there, helping with Amari Williams down low, making sure that if he put the ball on the floor or brought it down low, they could knock the ball away and get some steals. So on both ends, really, and just in a tight game like this that was so back and forth, really, really impressive win for LaSalle here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I'm guilty of it too. I thought Drexel was going to run the floor with pod number 1 with LaSalle and Temple, and not sleepwalk to a Big 5 championship appearance, but definitely have a stronghold on it. And LaSalle stepped up and they got the job done. Very encouraging performance by them. I'm excited to see, how they can build on this, because this team, they can be fun. And Fran Dunphy, like we said, he's not going to let them be bad. They might not be good, but they're not going to be bad. because that's not how Fran Dunphy operates. And another note of this game, I know you mentioned Drexel, 56% from free throw line. LaSalle also missing 7 free throws. They were 11 of 18. And Drexel did out rebound LaSalle, which I don't think is crazy surprising. 36-28, but they were able to overcome it and then pull out this victory. So, like you said, they defeat Temple and they will be playing for a Big 5 championship, which is definitely not something that either of us had anticipated going into the year. And we're only a few games into the season. Listen, as the college basketball expert, I guess, John Rothstein says, it's not anarchy. It's only November. So we're off to a good start here. All right, one more to go over. I know Penn played 2 games. We're not going to go over the John Jay game. There would have been no excuse for them to have this game even be close, and it wasn't. They won 102-57. So we're not going to go over that game. Not worth it. No offense to John Jay. Definitely appreciate you guys, coming out. But Bucknell was their second opponent, and this was on Wednesday night, and they beat Bucknell 80-61. The standout in this game, Tyler Perkins, the freshman, 24 points, 14 rebounds, 11 of those being offensive rebounds, which is definitely kind of insane. 8 of 16 from the field. Clark Slackert, not his greatest game in the world, but he was Penn's second leading scorer, 11 points on 5 of 13. Cam Thrower is definitely a name you're going to hear a lot in the scoring column for them because they're going to need some guys to step up with the production that they've lost. 9 points on 4 of 18, or 4 of 11, excuse me. And Johnny Walter, who was their transfer, 8 points on 4 of 7 from the field. They shot 49% from the field, which is good. The absolute craziest stat of this game, Cope, and I want to get your opinion on this. They out-rebounded Bucknell. You ready? 52-22. 52-22. The margin of the rebounding margin was more than the amount the Bucknell had, which is definitely a damning stat for them. But the one thing that is still concerning that we saw last year sometimes with this Penn team, and I want to ask you about this right off the bat before you get into the rest of the game, 16 turnovers. 16 turnovers in this one, which is definitely not a number you want to see, especially on opening night against Bucknell. Cope, can they clean it up? I mean, I know there's a long season ahead of us. It's only game 1. We don't want to overreact at all. We're not that kind of podcast, but it's not great that they were not able to take care of the ball in this one.
Yeah, you have to be a lot better. I think part of it is, this is their first game against their first, official game because they had a couple scrimmages, I believe, against Navy and Lehigh against, a real Division I team. I think also part of it is guys trying to do too much around the basket, trying to take it in on too many guys. Nick Spinoso had a play where I believe it was George Smith got the ball inside the paint. He didn't see a guy wide open in the right corner, threw it to Spinoso, who then tried to throw a cross-court skip pass. It actually ended up hitting the rim and then went out of bounds. I don't think I've ever seen that before. A good idea, but just the result of the play for it to bounce off the rim and then careen out of bounds. Stuff like that. And the thing is, it's not so much the trying to do too much. It's just the fact that it's like, hey, we don't turn the ball over that many times. This game is never close. This lead was up over 20. It got down to 9 because they kept turning the ball over and had a lull coming out of halftime. So I think part of it's rust. Some of it, hey, it is a pretty new roster. You have a lot of guys in elevated roles. You have a guy like Tyler Perkins, who is a freshman, is going to have a big role. A guy like Augie Gerhardt, who had a really big dunk at the end to seal this. He's a freshman as well. Johnny Walter coming in. So with new guys coming in, guys who last year didn't have huge roles now being asked a lot more. I think there's maybe some gelling that needs to go on. They got to play with each other a little bit more. But yeah, you definitely can't turn the ball over 16 times on a game, especially for a Steve Donahue team. It seems like it's very uncharacteristic. But I'll say it's just kind of a one-off thing. I don't think they're going to do this every night, but the main thing is the game got close because of this. Outside of that, Penn played a very good game. It should have never been as close as it was. Honestly, they probably should have won by 25 plus because this Bucknell team, I don't envision them winning a lot of games this year. John Griffin III, who was a assistant under Billy Lang at St. Joe's, was also a Bucknell alum who was on some really good teams for them early 2000s that made some tournaments. He's now their head coach, but these Patriot League jobs are like borderline impossible. I mean, you look at Matt Langle and you're in awe of what Matt Langle has done at Colgate. Being a first of all Penn alum, we'll circle back there.
Yep.
You're in awe of how good of a job he's done. They're a dynasty. Made a bunch. Now they haven't had any success in the tournament yet, but they dominate the Patriot League. And you're in awe of like, wow, he's doing that at a Patriot League school. People forget that his record the first couple years he was there was not good, Kyle. It's hard to win at these jobs. This Bucknell team was not very good last year, and the team that they have this year is most guys from last year. Was not very good. So John Griffin III in his first year, it's not going to be pretty. These Patriot League jobs are hard. That's what it is. It's a long-term thing. This is a team that they should have beat, plus in my opinion. But getting to the actual game, first of all, Tyler Perkins had 11 defensive rebounds, not 11 offensive rebounds. If it had been 11 offensive, I would have been like, holy smokes, he probably finished.
I must have read that wrong then, but that is still extremely impressive.
But he was all over the place. Added a couple assists as well, hitting some tough threes, some step backs. I mean, he had it all going on, and with Penn losing Jordan Dingle from last year, I'm not saying that this guy is that he's going to be one of the leading scorers in Division I, but really, really impressive. And Penn found a guy that offensively, even as a young player, can certainly get buckets really, really quick, facilitate a little bit as well, and handle the rock. So really encouraged by what I saw from him. Cam Thrower, who played very seldom last year, made some shots, and then Johnny Walter coming in, 8 points. Had a couple of nice cuts in the second half. That's to me what was the best part of the second half for them. You look at the shooting percentage, very good. Made some threes. A lot of guys got involved here. But that second half, and you got to give Bucknell credit, they competed their tails off. That's what John Griffin III, even with a roster that might not be that talented, he wants them to compete because that's what he did while he was at Bucknell. And you saw his competitiveness while he was at St. Joe's. Like, that's what his teams are going to embody. And these guys didn't give up. They cut this lead down to 9 and believe they had a shot in the second half. And they competed really hard. They had some good defensive possessions, but Penn really broke their backs with some backdoor cuts, with some good movement, just like a Steve Donahue team should have. So encouraging win for them. They're going to play St. Joe's. They're going to play Houston. They're going to play Auburn. They're going to play better teams than John Jay College and Bucknell. But a good win here. A lot of guys got involved. The rebound margin was awesome, for them to crash the glass. For a Bucknell team that offensively wasn't great, if you destroy them on the glass like that, you limit them to one possession at a time, and sometimes they weren't taking great shots, Kyle. That's how a score like this ends up happening. So really good all-around game. In the first half, this was all Penn. I mean, you take away maybe an 8 to 10 minute stretch at the beginning of the second half, Kyle, and this really was a complete game from them. So they're going to play better teams, but to start out, take the John Jay win with a grain of salt. Just good to play somebody else, but then to beat Bucknell the way they did. Really nice and encouraging start for a Penn team that we definitely had some questions about with all the production they lost. They look like they're starting to mesh a little bit here. Looks like they have some really good pieces. And even with some of the newcomers, with Tyler Perkins and Johnny Walter, Cam Thrower coming into a bigger role here. Really encouraging win here for Penn. Like I said, they're going to play better teams. But for what they had so far, like last night, sans a bit of a stretch in the second half. I mean, really, really wire to wire, impressive win for them.
Yeah, and their competition will step up, so we'll see. Exactly some of these results will hold for them. I sure hope so. But long season. I definitely expect the turnovers to come down. But it was encouraging for sure. It was definitely a great result for them. And that does it for the going over games part of our segment. We're going to do things a little bit differently this year, though, just so you guys aren't surprised by us not going over or previewing rather every single game that's coming up at the later part of the weekend. Just because, we want these episodes to be digestible for you guys. And if we're talking for an hour and 10 minutes or so, that's a long time. You don't want to hear us talk for that long. I don't think we want to talk for that long. We don't want to hear ourselves talk for that long. So we're going to each pick one game that we want to, preview a little bit, look forward. That's saying we're going to look forward to, not that we have to spend a ton of time on it. We talked already before this episode, so I think we're both going to have the same game here, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But just wanted to keep you guys updated so you're not surprised by us not going over all these games. But Cope, the one game that we're going to go over in this one will be on Friday. and it will be an inner Big Five matchup between Penn and St. Joe's, which will be the first game of pod number 2 that kicks off. This will be an exciting one. We just talked about these Quakers and we talked about St. Joe's a little earlier. Personally, I think that St. Joe's is going to win this game. I think that the talent discrepancy, is there for St. Joe's. Not that Penn doesn't have guys like Tyler Perkins and Clark Slacker, but I just think the overall roster of St. Joe's will probably prove to be a little bit too much. Plus, it's at Hagan Arena, so it is a home game for them, which helps for sure. So I'm really excited for this one. It's Friday at 6:30. Cope, what do you think for this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take St. Joe's as well. Now, here's what I say. Here's what I will say. Like this could be a closer game than people think. First of all, Penn's got the coaching advantage in this one. I would take Steve Donahue over Billy Lang. Not a knock on him, but I've seen Steve Donahue do it for a longer period of time. Multiple different programs, and X and O wise, I think Steve Donahue is terrific and very hard to prepare for. The game last year, now a way different Penn team, the St. Joe's team from last year. Now, St. Joe's brings a lot of guys back, but with these newcomers that we hear so much about that I'll get to in a second, it's a really close game last year. At the Palestra, it was part of the Big 5 doubleheader at the end of November last year. Game that went to overtime. That Penn was up by a bunch. They blew a lead. They needed Jordan Dingle to hit a three to send it to overtime for him. And then St. Joe's ended up prevailing this one. So this is a really good game last year. I think it could be competitive once again, even with the losses that Penn has. But this game will be lost because, hey, like I think Steve Donahue with the defense that St. Joe's has will be able to scheme up and get them some open looks in the half court. If they have long possessions and they make the defense work, they'll get some open shots. But St. Joe's is going to guard the ball hard. They did a very good job of that in their last game. And if you're going to turn the ball over like Penn did against Bucknell, they will have a harder time doing that. If they have to play against St. Joe's, they'll probably turn the ball over more than that or just as much. So if Penn's going to shoot themselves in the foot, this game could be in the double digits, but I do think that they'll actually keep this competitive a little bit. I think it'll be actually a pretty high scoring game depending at the pace on what they want to play at, but I'm going to go with St. Joe's as well. I just want to see Kreese play. I feel like he's like, there's just this legend about him. It's like I just want to see him play in a game. Seems like he's very excited. I know he tweeted out. I think he retweeted his own tweet that was like he tweeted out like can't wait to play a game in Hagan Arena at some point. He like retweeted that. And then he tweeted out the eye emojis today. So seems like he's going to be in on a pretty big stage for the Big 5 Classic. So I'm going to go St. Joe's here as well. But I could see Penn making this a competitive game for sure.
Yeah, and I agree with your take on it being potentially a high scoring game. I definitely think the pace in this one could tick up and you could see some points on the board for sure. Especially with, as you've mentioned before, the way that St. Joe's can sometimes defend the 3-point line. I wouldn't personally recommend not defending the 3-point line when Clark Slacker's on the other side because that dude's a flamethrower. We'll see what happens though. I definitely think it'll be competitive too. I agree. But I do think at the end of the day, St. Joe's will walk away with a win here and have a matchup at in the Holy War with Villanova for potentially a spot in the Big 5 championship coming up here. So very excited for that. But
I also want to throw out here, not to cut you off.
Oh, you're good.
And I know that the one Penn game was against John Jay on Monday, which I'm not. I know it's very very hard to schedule games. I think you got to cut D1 teams down if you're going to play against a D3 opponent. Only do one a year because they're going to play Fairleigh Dickinson Florham Park pretty soon. They're going to play satellite campus, coming up. I get it's a D3 game. Nick Spinoza didn't play too much in that, but also hey, for what it's worth, this is going to be Penn's third game in 5 days start the season. I think fatigue is not going to play a factor because they just got started. They're probably very, very excited. They're not there yet. But, hey, to start the season out, 3 games in 5 days, you're not going to go on the road, albeit, I don't know, like a 15, 20-minute bus ride, but you got to go into another arena against the best team you're going to have played so far. I think that could play a factor as well. So, just, it makes me like the St. Joe's pick.
Yeah, no, I mean it's an important nugget for sure. Obviously, they're not going to be fatigued, like you said, because the season just started. But it could catch up with them a little bit as we get into November, December. Now, I do remember last year. I don't remember exactly what month it was, but I do remember they had about a 2-week break or so. between games. I believe it might have been around the holidays, or maybe it was around January, February. I forget exactly, but I do know that they will probably make up for it in the long run. So not to be too concerned there, but definitely you know, definitely a note that is definitely notable. I don't know why I said note and notable, but it's fine. For sure though. But Cope, that's pretty much all we got here for this one. Do you have any final thoughts here before we sign off?
Well, let's just say that I hope the Penn Quakers can do what the Union did going up to New England. We need a really big win on Saturday to keep our hopes alive for the
Yes,
Ivy League
sir.
championship. Which will
Yale,
probably
correct?
limit me watching the Penn St. Joe's game because I'm probably going to be in an Enterprise truck on the way up to Boston tomorrow, and then I'm going to have to get off the Enterprise truck and set up a locker room in a completely dog shit setup at Harvard's football stadium for a little bit.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. Got 8 days left in football, and then I can lock in on college basketball here. Crushed my Red Bull during the taping of this. Not really getting much sleep. I'm all vibes. Championship is still in reach for right now.
Sometimes you need
That's
vibes.
all that matters. But I'll be able to tune in a little bit. I know we're still kind of in the bye game phase of the non-conference before. Pretty soon we're going to get into some real juicy matchups and some real good ones. But just nice to have college basketball back on your TV. I had St. Joe's Lafayette on my laptop. I had the Villanova like Big East whip around coverage on my TV. It was great to just be going double screens, and
Oh, yeah.
just consuming a whole bunch of college basketball. That's definitely best time of the year. My favorite season. It's great to just have a bunch of games going on at once.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Listen, I'll be watching that game, so I'll have the coverage for us. Don't you worry. 6:30 on Friday night. So you go drive the Enterprise truck, or at least be in the Enterprise truck. Go set up that locker room up at Harvard, and I'll keep us updated here. Don't you worry about that. We do need those Quakers to get a victory though. That is for sure. But anywho, that's all we pretty much got here. I don't think I have anything else other than the Union, which we went over already, of course. And just hope Zach Wilson figures it out at some point. But I've been saying that for 3 years. So,
It's
oof.
not happening. Stop getting your hopes up. I
No,
tried to tell you a
it's
year ago it's not happening. You're not winning anything with that guy.
you know what? I would almost like to apologize to Sam Darnold because as much as I was high on him when he first got drafted, I definitely was one of the people who ran him out of town. He statistically, as a Jet, was not much better than Zach Wilson, but he was definitely a margin better than Zach Wilson. And if that version of Sam Darnold was on this Jets team, uh, we'd probably be in playoffs, honestly, because he did not have the weapons that Zach Wilson has. Not that there's crazy weapons, but he didn't have anyone like Garrett Wilson. Uh, he definitely had some incompetence at offensive coordinator. He sure as hell did not have the defense that the Jets have now. So I would like to apologize to Sam Darnold. But with that being said, we don't need to talk about any more Jets football because they got a Sunday night matchup. Actually, both of our teams are in prime time this week, which is a scary thought.
Sorry to the rest of America. You have to
Yes,
watch our team stand alone.
Cope and I would like to deeply
Sorry.
apologize
Sorry.
for the millions of viewers who will be watching the New York Jets and the Denver Broncos on consecutive primetime days, uh, especially with the Panthers Bears game that's going on currently as we're recording this. And I don't know the score of that. And I don't really want to know the score of that. I don't care. That is the toilet bowl of the season so far. No offense to those teams, but it's true. Anyhow, thank you all for tuning in very much. Glad to have finally talked some real basketball games with you guys, and very excited to continue to do so the rest of this season. And of course, for all that coverage, make sure you follow us on our Instagram and our Twitter at Big5Pod. Make sure you tune into the YouTube, of course, to watch our episodes here. And if you don't want to look at our faces here, and I get it, I get it. If you don't, there's the audio only versions on Apple Podcasts and Spotify that you can look up as well. It's all there, and we appreciate your support. We thank you for tuning in, and of course, we will see you next week to go over these weekend games. But until then, we'll see you.